Silence is power because it grants us the ability to remain in control of our thoughts, emotions, and actions, especially in moments when we feel pressured to speak. In a world that constantly demands attention, whether it's through social media, conversations, or expectations from others, silence becomes a refuge. It allows us to step back and assess the situation without reacting impulsively. When we choose not to speak, we gain time to reflect, to gather our thoughts, and to consider the best course of action. This pause in communication doesn't signify weakness or lack of participation. Rather, it is an intentional choice to prioritize understanding over immediate expression. By staying silent, we hold the power to manage our energy and avoid unnecessary conflict. Silence provides us with the opportunity to listen deeply, not just to others, but to ourselves. It's in those moments of quiet reflection that we often uncover our true thoughts, insights, and creative ideas. In the presence of uncertainty, silence can be a source of immense clarity. It prevents us from becoming entangled in the noise of the moment and allows us to maintain a level of detachment, which ultimately strengthens our capacity to navigate life's challenges with poise and precision. When we choose silence over rash words, we avoid the traps of misunderstanding and regret that can follow hasty or emotionally driven comments. Silence serves as a shield, protecting us from saying things we might later wish we could take back. It preserves our integrity by allowing us to wait for the right time to speak, rather than being carried away by the pressure of the moment. In many situations, it is not our words that hold the greatest impact, but our ability to remain composed and silent, giving us the upper hand in maintaining our peace of mind. Words can escalate conflict in ways we often don't anticipate. When emotions run high, the urge to respond quickly or defend ourselves can lead us to speak without considering the consequences. In moments of tension, saying the wrong thing can turn a minor disagreement into a full-blown argument. The power of silence lies in its ability to de-escalate these situations before they spiral out of control. In the heat of an argument, emotions cloud our judgment, and words spoken in anger often carry a weight that is difficult to undo. Once something is said, it cannot be taken back. But when we choose silence instead of speaking out, we create a pause, a space in which the intensity of the moment can dissipate. Silence doesn't feed the fire of conflict, it starves it. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that every disagreement or criticism requires a rebuttal. But sometimes, silence is the most effective response. It allows us to break the cycle of back and forth exchanges that only fuel tension. Rather than contributing more fuel to the fire, silence creates an opportunity for the other person to reflect on their words and perhaps calm down. Silence in the midst of conflict gives us time to think before reacting. It gives us the chance to consider what truly matters, whether it's finding a resolution, preserving the relationship, or simply avoiding unnecessary stress. By staying silent, we resist the urge to escalate the conflict further, and instead open the door for a more thoughtful and measured response when the moment is right. When we speak in anger, we often regret it later. Silence, on the other hand, gives us a moment of control, allowing us to regain our composure and act from a place of clarity rather than reaction. Silence in conflict isn't about weakness or avoidance, it's about choosing the path of wisdom, knowing that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. Silence cultivates wisdom because it creates the mental space necessary for deep reflection and thoughtful consideration. In a world that often glorifies constant activity and noise, silence serves as a rare and precious opportunity to step back and absorb the lessons life has to offer. When we remain silent, we create room for our minds to process the information around us and connect the dots between what we see, hear, and experience. Wisdom is not merely the accumulation of knowledge, but the ability to understand, apply, and discern what is truly important. Silence gives us the ability to step away from the rush of daily life and reflect on our actions, decisions, and interactions. It helps us separate ourselves from the distractions and emotional impulses that cloud our judgment, allowing us to see situations more clearly. In moments of silence, we can pause to analyze what we've learned from our experiences. Instead of reacting quickly and emotionally, silence helps us take a step back and consider what the right course of action might be. When we choose to listen and observe rather than speak, we open ourselves up to a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. We gain a clearer perspective on the situation, which can often lead to better decision-making and insight. Furthermore, silence creates an environment where true learning can take place. It's in the quiet moments that we absorb the lessons others offer, whether through their words or their actions. When we are silent, we are not just holding back our own thoughts, we are also making space for others to share theirs. This allows us to learn from those around us, whether it's from their successes or their mistakes. In silence, we gain the clarity that comes with not being influenced by the noise of the world. We see things more objectively and our understanding deepens. By embracing silence, we embrace the opportunity to grow in wisdom and develop a more profound understanding of both the world and ourselves. Knowing when to let things go is one of the most valuable skills we can develop, and silence plays a crucial role in this process. Not every situation requires our immediate involvement or a response. In fact, often the wisest course of action is to simply allow things to pass without engaging. Silence provides the opportunity to step back and evaluate whether something truly deserves our energy, attention, or words. Too often we feel compelled to address every issue, correct every misunderstanding, or defend ourselves against every slight. But not every battle is worth fighting, and not every comment or situation demands a response. In many cases, silence is the key to letting things go. It is in the quiet moments that we find the strength to move past minor irritations and distractions rather than getting caught up in things that ultimately don't matter in the grand scheme of our lives. Letting go is about recognizing the difference between what we can control and what we cannot. Some things are simply beyond our influence, and engaging with them only wastes our time and energy. Silence allows us to release our attachment to these situations and focus our attention on things that truly matter: our goals, our relationships, and our own well-being. Letting go through silence often helps preserve peace. By refraining from engaging in unnecessary conflicts or giving in to the urge to correct every misstep, we maintain harmony in our relationships. Silence offers the space to detach ourselves emotionally from situations that may be frustrating or irritating, preventing us from escalating small issues into major problems. Learning when to let things go is an important part of emotional maturity. It's about having the wisdom to recognize that not everything needs a response, and that sometimes the most powerful action is to let silence speak for itself. By embracing this, we free ourselves from unnecessary tension and open the door to greater peace and clarity. The power of observation is one of the most underrated benefits of silence. When we remain silent, we shift from being participants in a conversation to being keen observers of it. Silence allows us to step back and truly listen not only to the words being spoken, but also to the underlying emotions, body language, and dynamics that often go unnoticed in the rush of conversation. In moments of silence, we can observe how people react, how they respond to pressure, and what they truly care about. By being still and quiet, we absorb more information than we realize. It is in this stillness that we begin to notice patterns and subtle cues that inform our understanding of others, their intentions, and their motivations. Observation is a skill that becomes stronger the more we practice silence. The quieter we are, the more we notice. When we talk less, we give others the opportunity to reveal themselves. People often speak in a way that reflects their true feelings or thoughts, but those insights are only accessible if we take the time to listen. In silence, we create space for the other person to express themselves freely, which helps us better understand their perspective. This in turn allows us to build stronger connections, make better decisions, and react more thoughtfully. Silence also fosters a deeper connection to our own thoughts. When we refrain from speaking, we allow ourselves to fully process and reflect on the situation at hand. Observation becomes not just an external act, but an internal one, as we consider our own responses and emotions in light of what we see and hear. In essence, silence transforms us from mere participants in conversations to astute observers of life itself. It grants us the opportunity to gather wisdom, enhance our understanding, and make decisions based on a broader, more informed view. Through silence, we learn to see what truly matters and gain insights that words alone can't provide. Self-control is a sign of strength, and silence is one of the most powerful tools we have to exercise that control. In situations where emotions are running high or where external pressures are at play, the ability to remain silent shows incredible inner strength. It demonstrates that we are not ruled by our impulses or the moment's emotions, but rather by a calm, deliberate, and measured approach to life. In many circumstances, it can be tempting to speak out, react in anger, or defend ourselves immediately. But the true power lies in holding back. Silence in these moments is not weakness, it's a reflection of emotional maturity. It shows that we have the strength to pause, reflect, and choose our responses with intention, rather than being driven by knee-jerk reactions or the heat of the moment. Self-control is about understanding the impact of our words and actions. When we speak impulsively, we often regret it later, realizing that what we said in anger or frustration only worsened the situation. Silence, on the other hand, gives us the chance to respond thoughtfully and wisely when the time is right. It allows us to filter out the noise of our emotions and focus on what truly matters, rather than adding fuel to an already tense situation. By practicing silence, we also show respect for others. In moments of conflict or disagreement, remaining silent can signal that we are giving the other person the space to express their thoughts fully. It shows that we are not simply focused on our own perspective, but are open to hearing what others have to say without interrupting or reacting hastily. In essence, silence is an act of discipline and self-restraint. It reveals the strength we possess to hold our tongues in the face of provocation and to choose our words only when they will have the greatest positive impact. The more we practice silence, the stronger we become in our ability to control not just our reactions, but also the way we interact with the world around us. Self-control in moments of silence empowers us to maintain our peace, uphold our dignity, and navigate life's challenges with grace and wisdom. Respecting the moment is one of the most profound ways silence can serve us. Every situation we encounter has its own unique energy and rhythm, and silence allows us to honor that rhythm without disrupting it. Whether we find ourselves in a moment of celebration, reflection, grief, or decision-making, silence can be the greatest way to show respect for the present circumstances and those involved. In moments of joy or success, silence can be a way of showing reverence for the occasion. Rather than speaking immediately, we take a moment to absorb the significance of what's happening. It's in these quiet moments that we can fully appreciate the achievement, the effort, and the emotions that come with it. By pausing before we speak, we show that we understand the weight of the moment and that we are not rushing to fill it with unnecessary words. Similarly, in moments of sorrow or loss, silence allows us to express our respect for the gravity of the situation. Sometimes the most comforting thing we can do is simply be present with others, sharing in their silence. Words can feel inadequate in the face of pain or grief, and silence becomes the most fitting response. It shows empathy, understanding, and a deep respect for the emotions at play. It also gives others the space they need to process their feelings without feeling the pressure to speak. Silence also plays a crucial role in decision-making and reflection. When we are faced with important choices, taking a moment of quiet reflection before speaking or acting allows us to honor the complexity of the decision. It ensures that we are not rushing to judgment or making decisions based on impulsive emotions. Respecting the moment by remaining silent grants us the time to weigh our options and make thoughtful, informed choices. In every situation, silence helps us remain in tune with the present moment, allowing us to respond with the appropriate level of awareness and respect. It helps us avoid disrupting the flow of a significant event with unnecessary chatter or forced comments. Silence becomes an expression of our understanding and reverence for what is happening around us, whether it's a joyous occasion, a solemn one, or a critical decision that requires careful thought. By learning to respect the moment through silence, we show that we value the circumstances, the people involved, and the deeper significance of what's taking place. Not every situation requires us to share our opinion, and knowing when to hold back can be a powerful practice. Silence in these moments doesn't mean we lack thoughts or ideas. It means we are choosing to be discerning about when and where our voices will have the greatest impact. Too often we feel the need to express our opinions, whether to assert our knowledge, correct someone else, or participate in a conversation. However, not every issue or topic is one we need to comment on. When we choose not to share our opinion, we create space for other perspectives to emerge. It allows the conversation to unfold more naturally without dominating it with our own point of view. Sometimes people need to talk through their ideas, and by holding back, we give them that opportunity. The wisdom in silence lies in understanding that our words won't always add value, and in fact there are times when our silence can be more insightful than our opinions. When we refrain from sharing our opinions, we reduce the risk of conflict. Opinions are subjective and can often clash with others. In some situations, expressing our thoughts might unintentionally lead to misunderstandings or tensions, especially if the topic is sensitive or controversial. Silence in these moments is a form of self-awareness. It's recognizing that our viewpoint may not change the situation or that the timing for it might not be right. By withholding our opinion, we allow others the freedom to express themselves without the pressure of defending their stance or engaging in a debate. Sometimes withholding our opinion also gives us the chance to learn and grow. When we don't immediately speak, we give ourselves the opportunity to observe and understand the full scope of the situation before committing to a viewpoint. This extra time allows us to process new information and refine our perspective, leading to a more thoughtful and informed opinion when we eventually decide to share it. In silence, we also practice humility. We acknowledge that we don't have all the answers and that others may have valuable insights to offer. The humility of choosing not to speak allows us to be more open to learning, listening, and adapting our views over time. Learning when not to share our opinion is about exercising discernment. It's about knowing that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is to listen, learn, and allow others the space to share their thoughts without imposing our own. Silence in this regard doesn't diminish our value, it enhances our ability to be thoughtful, considerate, and mindful in our interactions. Silence creates space for others to express themselves, and this is one of its most valuable aspects in communication and relationships. When we choose not to speak, we provide others with the opportunity to share their thoughts, ideas and feelings without interruption or competition. In conversations, especially those involving complex or sensitive topics, giving others the space to speak is a powerful form of support and respect. It demonstrates that we value their perspective and are willing to listen fully, which fosters deeper connections and understanding. Often, people need to feel heard more than they need advice or solutions. By remaining silent, we allow them to articulate their thoughts and emotions freely, which can be incredibly therapeutic for the speaker. This act of listening, not just with our ears, but with our full attention, can make a world of difference in how someone feels and how they navigate their own thoughts. Silence becomes a gift we give to others, providing them with a safe space to express themselves without fear of being judged or dismissed. In addition to being a form of support, silence also enhances our ability to understand others. When we don't immediately respond or jump in with our own thoughts, we can absorb more information about what the other person is really saying. People often reveal more and more in moments of silence as they feel encouraged to continue speaking without the pressure to pause for others' input. By creating that space, we gain insights into their concerns, beliefs, and motivations that we might have missed if we were constantly talking over them. In group settings or collaborative environments, silence can be particularly valuable. By staying silent, we let the conversation flow more naturally, allowing different voices to be heard and new ideas to emerge. If everyone waits for their turn to speak rather than jumping in immediately, the discussion becomes richer and more inclusive. Silence allows for diversity in thought, as each person's unique perspective can be presented without the conversation being dominated by one voice. Silence encourages reflection. When we give others the space to speak, it not only helps them express themselves, but also gives us the opportunity to process their words and respond thoughtfully. Silence becomes a tool for clarity and understanding, ensuring that we don't rush to respond, but instead give our full attention to the matter at hand. Silence in conversation is not about withdrawing or disengaging. It's about making room for others to be heard and ensuring that communication flows with depth, respect, and understanding. By creating space for others through silence, we build stronger relationships, foster better communication, and invite more thoughtful and meaningful exchanges. Choosing not to react impulsively, but instead to respond thoughtfully, is one of the greatest strengths silence offers us. In a world that often values quick reactions, silence gives us the time and space to carefully consider our response before speaking. When we react without thinking, we risk making decisions we later regret, saying things that can harm relationships, or escalating a situation unnecessarily. Silence allows us to avoid these pitfalls by offering a moment to pause, reflect, and choose how we will respond. In moments of conflict or when we feel provoked, the urge to react immediately can be overwhelming. Our emotions might drive us to speak in anger or frustration, but responding without taking a moment to gather our thoughts often makes the situation worse. By staying silent for a moment, we give ourselves the opportunity to calm down, regain control of our emotions, and process the situation. This brief pause helps respond from a place of clarity rather than impulsivity, leading to more thoughtful and effective communication. Silence also allows us to assess the situation more objectively. When we take a step back and remain silent, we can better understand the underlying causes of a problem or conflict, as well as the perspectives of others involved. Reacting immediately often clouds our judgment as we are influenced by our emotional state. By choosing silence, we remove ourselves from that emotional charge and can look at the issue from a broader perspective, which helps us respond more effectively. In addition, silence can signal to others that we are not just reacting to the surface level of a conversation, but are considering the deeper context and the long-term consequences of our response. This gives our words more weight when we do choose to speak, as others will recognize that we have thought carefully before responding. Silence gives us the power to act rather than simply react. In the face of provocation, it's easy to be swept up in the moment and let emotions dictate our actions. But when we stay silent, we gain control over the situation, allowing us to choose the best way forward instead of being swept away by our initial impulses. By choosing to pause before we speak, we allow ourselves to respond in a way that is more measured, more thoughtful, and more in line with our values. Silence empowers us to take the time needed to assess the situation and respond from a place of strength, wisdom, and emotional intelligence. Silence is often the greatest signal of confidence. In a world that encourages constant speaking, sharing, and being heard, the ability to remain silent in certain situations demonstrates a deep sense of assurance in oneself. When we choose silence, especially in moments when others may be speaking or when we might feel pressure to contribute, it shows that we are not seeking validation or approval. Instead, we are comfortable in our own thoughts and do not feel the need to fill the space with words simply for the sake of being noticed. Confidence is not about constantly asserting ourselves or making our presence known. True confidence lies in the ability to hold our ground without needing to prove anything. When we remain silent, we are saying, "I know who I am and I don't need to speak to assert my worth." This quiet assurance can be far more powerful than any words we might say. It conveys strength and presence, allowing others to recognize our confidence without us needing to draw attention to ourselves. In meetings, conversations, or social settings, those who speak the least are often the ones who are respected the most. They are perceived as thoughtful, self-assured, and emotionally intelligent because they know when to contribute and when others have the floor. Their silence communicates that they are paying attention, evaluating the situation, and choosing their words carefully. In contrast, those who feel the need to constantly interject or speak loudly often come across as insecure or unsure of themselves. Silence also gives us the opportunity to listen deeply, which is another sign of confidence. It shows that we are more interested in understanding others than in simply promoting our own opinions. By choosing to stay silent and listen, we demonstrate that we value other people's thoughts and are not threatened by their input. This openness to hearing others' perspectives is a key trait of a confident individual. Silence creates space for our words to carry more weight when we do choose to speak. If we are constantly talking, our words can lose their impact. But when we hold back, our few statements become more meaningful, well-considered, and respected. Silence, in this way, becomes a strategic choice that enhances the value of our contributions. In essence, silence is a subtle yet powerful form of self-expression. It signals that we don't need to dominate conversations or constantly assert our presence to prove our value. Instead, it reflects a deep confidence in who we are, allowing us to remain composed and poised regardless of the noise around us. Through silence, we show that our strength comes not from words, but from the calm assurance that we are enough as we are. Silence fosters clarity, allowing us to separate ourselves from the noise and distractions of the world around us. In the busyness of life, it's easy to become overwhelmed by external influences, constant chatter, expectations from others. and the pressure to be constantly active or engaged. But silence offers us a refuge, a space where we can step away from the chaos and reconnect with our thoughts and priorities. When we are constantly speaking, listening to others, or engaging with the world, it becomes difficult to hear our own inner voice. Our minds become cluttered with other people's opinions, the demands of daily life, and the noise that surrounds us. Silence helps us cut through that noise and regain a sense of clarity. It allows us to reflect on our experiences, sort through our emotions, and understand what we truly want, need, and believe. In moments of silence, we can reflect on our goals and direction, assess where we are in life, and make adjustments as needed. It is in these quiet moments that we often gain the insights necessary to move forward. Without the distractions of constant talking, noise, or activity, we can think more clearly and make decisions that are aligned with our true desires and values. Clarity also comes when we choose silence in difficult or confusing situations. Instead of rushing to react or speak, we pause to understand the full scope of the issue. We give ourselves the time to process what's happening, assess our options, and evaluate the consequences of our choices. By staying silent, we allow ourselves to see things from a broader perspective, which ultimately leads to better decision-making and a more grounded approach to life's challenges. Silence enhances our ability to listen with depth and understanding. When we are silent, we are not only giving ourselves the chance to reflect, but we are also offering others the opportunity to speak more freely. By staying silent in conversations, we allow others to express themselves fully, which helps us gather more information and gain a clearer understanding of their perspective. Silence is not a void, it is a space of great potential. It clears the clutter from our minds, helps us find our inner center, and gives us the clarity needed to navigate life with greater wisdom and confidence. By embracing silence, we embrace the chance to see things more clearly, make better choices, and live with greater intention and focus.